Tonight on CP News, we'll be discovering about the life of Nelson Mandela and how he impacted the movement against apartheid.
Because of apartheid, 21,000 people have died. In South Africa, racial segregation was a challenge faced by the majority of South Africa's black population. The apartheid, a racist policy enforced by the National Party government from 1948 to 1944, suppressed the rights of South Africa's natives. However, this reign of terror has finally come to an end with the election of Nelson Mandela, a leader of a civil rights organization in South Africa called the ANC, or African National Congress.
Apartheid was more than just a policy between blacks and whites. The apartheid was a complete division of people by race, almost like the caste system. This apartheid system split people into four categories: Bantu, or black people, colored, or mixed people, white, and Asian, who were mainly Indian Pakistani. However, this system was not based on your birth parents, but purely on the color of your skin. This meant that families were split. Although a child could have two white parents, if his skin was dark enough, he was declared a mixed-race citizen. What does this classification mean? Well, the government enforced laws that divided land into two areas, white and non-white. And if you weren't a white person, you were required to carry documents with you that legitimized your presence in restricted areas. Also enforced by the government, a series of land acts specifically set aside more than 80% of South Africa's land for the use of white people, despite the whites being a tiny fraction of South Africa's population. All of this led to an eventual rebellion and South Africa's independence, led by one man who changed the world, Nelson Mandela. Now to Bianca and Alex with more information about the man who changed the world.
Nelson Mandela was a native-born South African born on July 18, 1918, due to Chief Leader Gadala Henry. After Gadala's death, Mandela led the tribe until he attended University of Fort Hare exploring law. However, Mandela discovered his interest in politics and was expelled due to being involved in student protest. After his expulsion, Nelson Mandela joined the other political activists and formed the National Congress Youth League to fight against his oppressive government.
During my lifetime, I have dedicated my life to this struggle of the African people. I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the idea of a democratic and free society in which all persons will live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an idea for which I hope to live for and to see realized. But my Lord, if it needs be, it is an idea for which I am prepared to die.
Later, Nelson Mandela was arrested for treason because of his role in the ANC. However, he was acquitted, but he becomes paranoid for being arrested again and goes into hiding. Despite his attempts to remain free, Mandela is later arrested for leaving the country and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. While in prison, a federal raid on the ANC headquarters gave the National Party proof of Mandela's involvement in anti-government activities. Mandela was then tried and sentenced to life on the Robben Island prison, when he spent the next 18 years of his life.
While Mandela was in prison, the National Party government fell due to external pressure from modernized powers and internal pressure from the rise of political parties, all fighting for civil rights. Before being elected, Mandela stated how South Africa would recover, saying, "The foreign policy of democratic South Africa will emphasize human rights and democracy. It will recognize that our destiny lies with Africa, and Southern Africa in particular will cooperate in the sphere, not dominate it. All above, we will try to help end in the terrible economic crisis that is afflicting our country and integrate ourselves into the global economy." Now to Nelson Mandela for his presidential speech.
We pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender, and other discrimination. We commit ourselves to the construction of a complete, just, and lasting peace. We understand it still that there is no easy road to freedom. We know it well that none of us acting alone can achieve success. We must therefore act together as a united people for national reconciliation, for nation building, for the birth of a new world. Let there be justice for all. Let there be peace for all.
After being elected president, Mandela had a very long-lasting effect on South Africa, helping it recover in terms of economy and welfare. By increasing federal spending on welfare, 3 million people were connected to telephone lines, 1.5 million children were being educated, 2 million were being connected to electricity, 3 million were given access to water, and 7,500 houses were built, enough to support 3 million people. Internationally, Mandela was a significant figure for civil rights and helped influence the world in the push for individual rights and equality. That's it for CP News. We'll see you tomorrow.